Game 4 of the NBA Finals in the books. Who's ready for a best of 3? The Bucks hold home court, claiming both in Milwaukee, tying the series at 2 games apiece, so still no away wins. That usually tells the story when we're talking about postseason hoop. Here we're talking about the NBA Finals and a 109-103 final in Game 4, leading the way. A quiet 40 points from Chris Middleton, if that's even possible. Some big buckets down the stretch by Middleton. Game-high 42 belonged to Devin Booker. He was hampered by some foul trouble there in the second half. We're going to dig into it all. But again, we're tied at 2 apiece. Best of 3 coming your way, heading back to Phoenix. Joining us now with more, CBS Sports NBA insider Bill Ryder to my left, and the coach, Avery Johnson, joining us now. Fellas, Game 4 in the books. Really odd flow to this ball game and what we expect out of these players. We got almost the exact opposite here. Bill, your initial reaction here to Game 4 and just the way that it played out is what?
What a bizarre basketball game. DeAndre Ayton doesn't score after the first quarter. Chris Paul was awful and couldn't protect the basketball. Devin Booker was amazing but sat for a big chunk of the fourth quarter, which might lead you to complain about the officiating, if not for the fact when they came back they didn't call fouls 6, 7, and 8 on him. It was just a very strange game.
Yeah, we might get to the officiating here in a moment. We'll see. We don't want to ruffle any feathers. But, Coach, your reaction in the wake of Game 4 is what? The big-time shooters really not coming up with the shots. Giannis a bit passive, if you will, here in Game 4, but it's still a win, and we are tied 2-2.
Well, at the end of the day, this is all about free throw shooting. You know, when you look at Milwaukee, they're +10 from the free throw line again tonight. Mike Budenholzer complained about the officiating. I've been in this situation before, guys, in 2006. When I played against a team that basically dominated us in the Miami Heat from the free throw line. So Mike Budenholzer complained about free throws. However he did it, politically, in a business-like manner, but it's really translated into the Milwaukee Bucks dominating this series from the free throw line. You look at the disparity in fouls that are being called on the Phoenix Suns compared to the Milwaukee Bucks. Give Mike Budenholzer credit. Whatever he did is working. Milwaukee's getting to the free throw line more points in the paint, more fouls called. They're a more aggressive team. And can Devin Booker get some help from Chris Paul? Because he can't do it by himself.
Let's talk about Chris Paul here, because the turnover battle much in the favor of Milwaukee as well in this one. When we talk about any sort of basketball games, out on the court in the backyard, here in the regular season, the playoffs, the NBA Finals, free throws and turnovers usually tells the story 17-5 in favor of the Bucks. If you want to call that a favor, they only had 5 turnovers to the 17 of the Phoenix Suns, 5 of those belonging to Chris Paul. He now has 15 turnovers in his last 3 games, guys. We're talking about a guy who had a 41-point, 0 turnover game in that closeout game of the Clippers. Bill Ryder, when you look at Chris Paul, he's pulling at the hand a little bit, maybe some issues there, but just wasn't himself here in Game 4, dovetailing off of a messy Game 3 as well. What do you make of CP3 at this juncture of the series?
Normally there's 3 things you can rely on in life: death, taxes, and Chris Paul's going to protect the basketball. Whatever else happens in a basketball game involving CP3, and there's a few things going on, and I think we probably have to put them all into the mix. One, and Coach and I talked about this when we were in Phoenix together, when Chris Paul dominated, this is a Bucks defense that had to get physical with Chris Paul, to literally lean on Chris Paul, to make Chris Paul feel them physically. They've done that, so give the Bucks credit. The other is there's a real wear and tear issue. I know fans can roll their eyes, and Coach can certainly speak to this, but in this year, with all the injuries, the condensed season, the condensed offseason, I know the GMs around the NBA talked at length about the further teams went, the more likely guys were going to get hurt, and we've seen that, or just run out of steam physically. Maybe we're seeing that, and to some degree, these are high-pressure moments. You and I talked about this during halftime. If the Suns win that half, if Chris Paul steps into that void, if he gives, as Coach said, a little bit of help to Devin Booker, the Suns win this game, the Suns are up 3-1. Chris Paul's almost certainly getting a ring. So I think pressure probably is part of what's going on too.
Not just turnovers, but the composure in that moment as you bring it up. Coach, when we're talking about the Phoenix Suns and talking about composure, you look to your leader, you look to your captain, you look to the veteran. Chris Paul, to be fair, has not been in these finals moments, but here he finds himself, and he really was that beacon of composure. Anything but that here in Game 4. What do you make of his output here?
Well, when you look at a point guard's productivity on the floor, because I've done it before, I've won a championship, I've coached in the finals. Look at all of the times that Chris Paul have, left his feet and gotten on what we call a trampoline and tried to make those passes. Most of the times, point guards stay on the floor, but he's jumping in the air, trying to find guys that are not available to be recipients of his passes. So I think Chris Paul has to go more to a ground game. Stay on the floor, because if those guys are not available, then at least you're still on the ground. You can attempt a shot. But the worst thing in those situations are turnovers when he jumps on the trampoline and he doesn't have anybody to pass to. This is another situation that confirms my thought. Phoenix Suns in 7.
All right,
This
so he's got.
This is a 7-game series. I told my buddy Bill Ryder this. I confirmed it with him in Phoenix. Joe, I'm sticking with it. However the Milwaukee Bucks won this game tonight, this is a 7-game series. Now we're down to a 3-game series because it's tailor-made because of two teams that are so evenly matched.
Yeah, at certain points in that second half, it was looking like Suns in 5 for some moments there. But it does look like we could be headed for 7 here. Nobody able to pry one away on the road. Big part of the game story in both Games 3 and Game 4 in Milwaukee was Phoenix foul trouble. To be fair, plain and simple, each instance the Suns' leading scorer was sent to the bench in foul trouble. Game 3, it was Ayton. Game 4, it's Booker. Coach, I'm not trying to get you called into league offices. We try and steer clear of that, but do you take issue with the way that this series has been officiated to this point?
Well, first of all, Joe, I work for CBS Sports HQ.
My guy.
So as long as Randy and all of my guys report doesn't find me at CBS Sports HQ, I am not concerned about the NBA fine system. But again, when you get in a situation like this in the NBA Finals, sure, you're going to have some questionable calls. Things happen. I've been in this situation before. And because of all of my experiences, I guess that's why, that's why I'm working for CBS Sports HQ, to be able to turn the dial back and share some of my experiences. The one thing you can't get involved with is calls from referees. You have to be able to stay the course. Referees are human. All of the calls are not going to go your way. Sure, you maybe have a difference in opinion with some of those calls, but you got to stay the course. You got to stay focused. But again, I am not afraid of the league office. I work for CBS Sports HQ, Bill and I, and that's how I feel about it.
We appreciate your candor, Coach, but taking a look at the numbers, 24 whistles blown on Phoenix here in Game 4 to just 18 on the Milwaukee side. Just a bit of a disparity there. Nothing crazy, nothing that jumps off the page at you. But there were some highlights in this one on both sides of things that could have called for some gripes from both fan bases. I think we got some video of what would have been, here we go, of what would have been Devin Booker's 6th and final foul of the game. Now, he does ultimately foul out at a future juncture, but you got an officiating crew that maybe digs themselves in a hole with a couple loose whistles on Booker, and they got to let one like this go. Do you take issue with the officiating, Bill?
I think that's it, and I do, and I understand as a poor gambler, one of the hardest things not to do is to throw good money after bad money. That's what the officials are doing here, and you referenced it. DeAndre Ayton played 24 minutes in Game 3 and was incredible in that game, but got into foul trouble. I thought it was marginal foul trouble, and then you look at this game, and Devin Booker, some ticky-tack fouls. They're certainly questionable for any player, especially a superstar. So you sit him down in the fourth quarter. He's red hot. Whether the right calls or the wrong calls, I think they're the wrong calls. The outcome of the game is largely shaped by it. He comes back, and then he loses his composure, in large part because probably Chris Paul had, and had foul number 6, not called. Foul number 7, not called. Maybe foul number 8, not called. So that's exactly right. When the officials lose control of the game, whether it's guys getting too physical or just bad calls that they know are bad calls, and you try to do the makeup thing, you have the kind of things we're talking about, which isn't where it's not where you want the focus of the game, but it had a huge impact. It was ugly. It was impactful. It was painful to watch.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.